Hey guys, and welcome to another episode tutorial with me, Joseph Evans, author of the Secret Sequence books and The Phoenix Prophecy, The Ember Effect, Soulbound, The Secret of Rain, The Last Goodbye, and Glitch Girl. If you find my tutorials helpful and you'd like me to continue making them, please take a quick moment to check out my Patreon page and see the different ways that you can support me. If you do decide to support me, you can get a range of rewards as a thank you from me, including early access to these tutorials, voting on what tutorials I make, episode goodie bags, shoutouts for you and your stories, and even personal help from me. You can also get certain rewards by becoming a member of my channel. All you need to do is click the join button underneath this video or click the first link in the description of the video. Okay, today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can make your own looping backgrounds. Now, before I start, I just need to say that just like my ghost tutorial, this is not an officially supported feature, but I've kind of come up with a hack. First of all, I need to find myself a regular background, and the place I usually like to go for this is pixabay.com, which is a public domain image site. All of the images on here are completely copyright free, meaning that anyone can use them for projects, even if those projects make money. You're going to want to find a background that's kind of straight on. Anything that's shot from a weird angle, like say this for instance, is never going to work because there's no way that you'll be able to connect the one end to the other to make it loop. You're also going to want to find something that doesn't have anything too specific in the landscape, because when it's looping you're just going to see this same thing going around on repeat, and what we actually want to do is create the illusion that it's just continuous scenery. This one of a beach here is perfect because it's fairly sparse, and if we loop it, it'll hopefully look like a continuous scene. Now what we're going to be doing is uploading this as an overlay and moving the overlay behind characters who are walking on the spot. And you might be thinking, okay, great, well we've got our background that looks pretty flat and straight on, this should work. Well, let me show you what it looks like if we just use this image as it is. As you can see, there is a very distinct seam where the two edges of the image meet, and this totally ruins the illusion of it being one continuous background that goes on forever. So we are going to need to do some editing in a program called GIMP. Now I've talked about this program quite a lot in my other videos. If you don't have it yet, then you just need to go to gimp.org and simply click on download, which will download the latest version to your computer. Okay, once GIMP is open, we need to create a new document, so File and New. And instead of setting the width to be 1920, which is the usual dimensions for a 3-zone background, what we need to do is increase this up to 2560, which is the correct size for a 4-zone background. I'll explain why a little later, and we'll keep the height at the regular background height of 1136. Click OK. And then let's drag that downloaded beach image from a Finder window straight onto the canvas. And we want to move this all the way over to the left, so let's click on the Move tool and then just drag the image across. And notice how it's quite difficult to get it precisely on the edge. Well, to make things easier, if I go to the View menu and then click on Snap to Canvas Edges, this will actually help us along, and it will snap right exactly to the edge there as soon as we get close to it. We also want to scale this up a bit so that it's quite close to the right edge but not touching it completely. So let's click on the Scale tool and then remember to hold the Shift key down to constrain the proportions, and we want it somewhere by here, and then I'm just going to move it down a bit again. Because I don't want that wave to appear too high. The next thing we need to do is isolate the area that makes up the first zone, and we can do that by going to the Image menu, then Guides, and New Guide. Then where it says Position, we want to change this to 640. Click OK. And now we can see exactly what part of the image makes up that first zone within episode. Now choose the Rectangle Select tool, which is the very first one in the Tools panel, and drag a box around that first zone, and it should once again snap to those edges. And we want to copy and paste that by using Command-C, Command-V or Control-C, Control-V on a Windows computer. Select the Move tool again and drag this new layer all the way over to the far right, letting it snap to the very far right edge of the canvas. Then click the little icon at the bottom of the layers panel that looks like a piece of paper with a plus symbol on it and it's green. This will properly place the layer in the position that you've chosen. It should be overlapping the original image slightly, which will give us the ability to blend out that seam and make it look infinite. Okay, now is the fiddly bit. We're going to need to do a bit of blending here. And one thing we're going to want to get rid of before we start doing any of that is this dotted yellow and black line, because that's really going to make it difficult to see if we're really getting rid of that seam or not. So to get rid of that, we just need to go to View and deselect Show Layer Boundary. Okay, so let's now select the Eraser tool. And you're going to want to bring the opacity down to, I'd say, about 20. And the hardness all the way down to 0. Then just start chipping away until that seam vanishes. Now, it's not always going to look perfect, but do remember that this will be moving behind the characters, and if it looks a tiny bit unnatural, it probably won't matter that much. But I think this looks pretty good, and yeah, it's really difficult to see that seam, so I'm happy with that. Now I need to merge the two layers together so that they properly become one, and the way to do that is to select the top one, then Control click, and choose Merge Down. And next, I also need to isolate the fourth zone. So I go to the image menu again, then Guides, New Guide once again, and this time we want to change the position to 1920. Click OK, and there's our fourth zone. And once again, I need to switch to the Rectangle Select tool, drag a box around that, let it snap to the edges, and copy and paste. Switch back to the Move tool, and drag that all the way back to where it originally was in zone 1. And just click that little icon, the little green one at the bottom of the layers panel once again to place that properly. And now guys, what we have is an identical zone 1 and zone 4, which will now allow us to swap these out for each other in episode without anybody noticing, creating that infinite loop that we're aiming for. That is the editing done. Now we just export this as a PNG by going to File, Export, and I'll call this Beach Loop. Click on Export again, and just ignore all these settings, just click on Export once again. Then we're going to go over to the Art Catalog. Make sure you're in the Overlays section, and we're going to run into a problem here, but I will show you how we get around it. If I select Image and then choose the Beach Loop overlay that we just made, it says your overlay must be under 1 megabyte, but yours was over 2. The fix, we just need to compress it. And the best place to do that is compressorDie.com. Just make sure that you select PNG in the navigation at the top of the website. Select a file by clicking here. And select the overlay we just made. Okay, in the top right, you can see now that it has compressed this PNG from 2.3 megabytes to 748 kilobytes, so much less than the 1 megabyte limit. Sometimes when you upload an image, the reduced file size still comes to above that 1 megabyte limit. If this does happen, just play around with the settings underneath, and you should be able to get it under 1 megabyte, usually by decreasing the number of colors or by choosing yes on extreme compression. Okay, let's download that compressed PNG. go back to the art catalogue and select that one instead. And now you can see that episode has accepted it. Awesome. I shall just name that Beach Loop and upload it. And it's finally time to create some code. Okay, so in our script, we can start with any background that we want. It actually doesn't matter at all because we're going to be completely covering it with our looping overlay. I'll use Ext Abbey Garden Day. And to get our overlay in there, I just need to write with and then the overlay's name, which is Beach Loop. And now it's time to add in our characters. Let's have Guy, he stands up screen left and Guy faces right, and then we'll have girl, she stands screen left and girl faces right. And by default, overlays always appear in front of characters, which is not what we want because we wouldn't be able to see anything. So we do need to do some layering. We're going to want the overlay at the very back, so at overlay beach loop to layer 1, and then we're going to want the guy in front of the overlay, so at guy moves to layer 2, and then we'll have the girl closest to the camera, so at girl moves to layer 3. Just remember that the higher the number, the closer to the camera something is, and when you're layering overlays, the word moves is not in that code, it's only in there when you're layering characters. What we need to do next is make our characters walk on the spot because we don't want them actually going anywhere. The looping background behind them will create that illusion that they're moving and that the camera is following them. To make them walk on the spot, we can write at guy starts walk neutral loop and at girl starts walk neutral loop. And before I begin animating the background, I think I'm going to preview this so that I can place the characters in slightly better positions than the default ones. Let's save and preview. So directing helper, spot helper, and then let's move the guy first. We'll have him scale up a bit. Maybe something like that, maybe a bit smaller. There we go, that just looks a little bit better than the screen left and up screen left positions. So I just copy and paste those spot coordinates and replace the original ones. And the final thing is to actually get this overlay looping. So here is the code, guys. Ampersand, and it's really important that you use this ampersand symbol here and not the @ symbol. So it's ampersand and then overlay, your overlay's name, beach loop, shifts to, and then -960, a space, then a 0, then the word in, a space, then the number 7, another space, and then the word then in all capital letters, the word overlay again, and your overlay's name once again as well, then shifts to, and it's 0 space 0 space in space 0 again. And lastly, the magic words which make this entire thing come together, we want to write loop infinite times. Let's see if this works. Perfect, that actually looks like a proper looping background, just like the official ones. Now, if you're having trouble with this code, I will put it in the description of this video as well, so you can just copy and paste it if you want. And just to show you that this same method can be used to create a range of different looping backgrounds, here are some other examples that I made recently for one of my Patreon goodie bags. If you want to get this exact selection ready-made, then head over to my Patreon page and check out the reward tiers. Okay guys, that is how you can make your very own custom looping backgrounds. If this tutorial has helped you in any way, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the helpful tutorials that I've got coming up. And if you'd like to support me and get some exciting rewards like these ready-made looping backgrounds, head over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/author Joseph Evans, or click the join button underneath this video. If you have any questions about any of this, make sure to comment them down below, and if you know the answer to anyone else's questions in the comments, it would be awesome if you could give them a quick answer to help them out. Thank you so much for watching guys, good luck creating your own looping backgrounds, and I will see you all in my next video.